NHL regular season recap, night 120. We had 12 games tonight, and the first one was an absolute banger between the Avs and Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa took care of the Avs tonight. Granted, the Avs have not been playing great hockey as of late, and that kind of continued in this game. They get outshot by a good bit by Tampa Bay, but it was close at least until the third period. Bo Byram opens the scoring 15 minutes into the first, and then Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov both score within about a minute and 10 seconds before the period ends to make it 2-1 after one. Byram gets his second of the game with the lone goal in the second to tie us at 2, but in the third, after Arturi Lehkonen makes it 3-2 Avs, it is all Lightning. Stamkos, Kucherov, Cirelli, and Perbix all scoring, and it's a 6-3 final for Tampa Bay. Justus Annunen got the start in this one. He wasn't terrible, wasn't great. He gave up 4 on 37, 2 empty netters for Tampa in this one. Andrei Vasilevsky goes 28 for 31, just slightly better, good enough for the win here. It's a big win for the Bolts. Again, they're looking to stay above Toronto, in particular in the Atlantic Division, and just try to keep themselves out of this wild card dogfight that's going to exist in the East. And for the Avs, they continue this little slide after the All-Star break. It hasn't been great. Nate McKinnon took a puck up high that was a little bit scary. Thankfully, he came back pretty quickly, which was kind of remarkable, but nonetheless, not a great game for the Avs. They lose 6-3 to Tampa. The Leafs hosting the Flyers, and this one was literally just Matthews, Marner, and Nylander versus the world. Matthews with 3 goals, all coming in the second period, his 43rd, 4th, and 5th of the year. Travis Sanheim scored short in the first. Hathaway and Konechny both scored in the third to force overtime, and William Nylander gets his 27th of the year as the overtime game-winning goal. Mitch Marner also had 3 assists in this one. Timothy Liljegren also had a pretty solid game with 2 assists. Ilya Samsonov, 29 of 32, a .906 save percentage. Sam Ersson on the other end of things, not that great. He had an .857, 24 of 28 for him in losing effort. This is one Torts is going to want back for sure, but it's a big win for the Leafs. 4-3 in overtime is the final. The Rangers taking on the Canadiens, and we have another hat trick in this one, but first Jake Evans opens us up in the first period. In the second, Kreider, Cooley, Zibanejad, and a second from Kreider. Hint, hint, wink, wink on who gets the hat trick. Slavkovsky adds one before the period ends, and then in the third, Trocheck, Caulfield, and hat-trick man Chris Kreider gets his 27th of the year, wrapping up the hat-trick effort. Kaapo Kähkönen gets his 6th. Cole Caulfield gets another one, and it ends up being a 7-4 game. Neither goalie was all that great in this one. Quick goes 31 for 35. Sam Montembeault, 24 of 31, one of his worst games of the year, a .774 save percentage in the losing effort. Excuse my dog in the back. She's going a little rogue. The Devils hosting the Kings, and this was a surprisingly low-scoring affair considering the state of both of these teams' goaltending. Nico Dawes and Dave Riddick, the 2 starting goalies in this one. But it ends up being a 2-1 final. No goals in the first. In the second, it's Anze Kopitar and Tyler Toffoli scoring shorthanded and on the power play, respectively. We head to the third and all the way until the last 6 minutes where Quentin Byfield gets his 17th of the year, also on the power play, and it's a 2-1 victory for Los Angeles. Both goalies, of course, pretty good in this one. Dave Riddick a bit better, going 26 for 27. Nico Dawes, meanwhile, 27 for 29. Both above a .930, so hard to blame Nico for the loss here. You just need at least one more goal if you're Jersey. This is something they're usually pretty good for, but tonight, just the one, and they lose in regulation to a struggling LA Kings team. The Bruins taking on the Seattle Kraken, and it is rare to see one of Boston's goalies get out-goalied, but tonight it definitely happened. David Pastrnak opens the scoring just about 5 minutes into the first. Jordan Eberle ties it up about 5 minutes later. In the second, it's Eeli Tolvanen that gets his 14th of the year to make it 2-1 Seattle heading into the third, where Matty Beniers and Jared McCann both score to make it a 4-1 final. This is the wild part, right? The Bruins, 37 shots. The Seattle Kraken, just 25. DeCord stops 36 of 37, while Swayman stops just 22 of 25. It's a big rarity, especially the last 2 years. Both Swayman and Allmark have been unbelievable. Usually when the Bruins almost double up a team in shots, pretty safe bet that they're going to win, but tonight, Joey DeCord, the better of the 2 younger goalies. It's a .973 save percentage for him. He's had a handful of these games this year where he just goes absolutely insane. Tonight's definitely one of them. Swayman, meanwhile, an .880. Not a terrible game from him, but again, you need probably one more save and at least one more goal from the Bruins. It's a 4-1 victory for the Kraken. The Ducks visiting Ottawa, and I don't know whether it was more of Anaheim's offense showing up tonight or Jonas Korpisalo choosing not to show up, but either way, it's a 5-1 win for the Ducks over Ottawa. Pavel Mintyukov, Frank Vatrano, Mason McTavish with 2, and then Cam Fowler are all the goal scorers for Anaheim. 1 in the first, 2 in the second, and another 2 in the third. Claude Giroux with the lone goal for Ottawa just 4.5 minutes into the third. John Gibson once again leaves after 2 periods. I don't know if he's allergic to third periods or what, but it was apparently an upper body injury that kept him out of the full 60 minutes tonight. He did stop all 15 shots he faced, so that was good, but Not sure exactly what's going on with him health-wise. I don't know if this is the same injury that nagged him earlier in the week, but nonetheless, it's a big win for the Ducks. Again, it doesn't really mean all that much. Frankly, the loss for Ottawa doesn't mean all that much either, but definitely pretty frustrating to lose to a team as low in the standings as the Ducks. Not a good game from Korpisalo. He has 15 saves on 20 shots, 750 save percentage, just not good enough at all. 5-1 victory here for Anaheim. The Sabres hosting the Panthers, and this was an absolute show from Anthony Stolarz. He faces 45 Buffalo Sabres shots and stops all 45 of them. This is like the second time in 10 days that the Sabres have just pounded a goalie with shots. I think the last one was Jake Ottinger. Faced like 48 shots against Buffalo tonight. They put 45 on Stolarz. He goes 45 for 45, and of course the Sabres lose this game. It's a final score of 4-0. Verhaeghe, Lundell, a second from Verhaeghe on the empty net, and then Ryan Lomberg on a very late game power play round out the scoring. Eric Comrie was fine. He stops 27 to 30. It's a perfect 900 save percentage, but you need some goals, and apparently 45 shots wasn't good enough. It's a 4-0 victory for the Panthers. The Blues taking on the Edmonton Oilers, and the Blues are continuing their strong play as of late in this one. Edmonton has a 2-1 lead after one. Goals from Robert Thomas, Leon Draisaitl, and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but it's a very explosive second period for St. Louis. Jake Neighbors, Torrey Krug, Jordan Kyrou, and Pavel Buchnevich all scoring. Two of those on the power play. Neighbors and Krug both scoring at even strength. In the third, Corey Perry gets his 5th of the year to make it a 5-3 game, and then Brandon Saad scores one more on the empty net to make it the 6-3 final. Not a great night for Stu Skinner. He goes 24 for 29, one of his worst games in a bit here, but been very good as of late, so I think he can have a mulligan. Jordan Binnington goes 35 for 38, a 921 save percentage. He was very strong, as you kind of have to be against this high-powered Edmonton team. But it's a huge win for the Blues. They're looking to climb back up the standings. They've done a good job of doing that to this point. For Edmonton, kind of a dud game, but they haven't been playing as strong as they were during that massive 16-game winning streak they were on. So it's all right to lose once in a while. They happen to do that tonight against St. Louis. 6-3 is the final. The Stars taking on the Nashville Predators, and it was a stomping on Broadway tonight. 4 goals in the first from Dallas. Sam Steele, Matt Duchene, Craig Smith, and Wyatt Johnston make it 4-0 after one. In the second, Miro Heiskanen adds a 5th before Nashville finally scores to make it a 5-1 game. Then it's Sagan, then it's Novak, and then it's Duchene again that makes it, I don't even know, 7-2 after 2 periods. In the third, they add 2 more because why not? It's Ty Dellandrea and Wyatt Johnston once again. And 9-2 is the final of this one. I don't know what was in the water for Dallas. I don't know what kind of beer Nashville was drinking last night, but this was a shit stomping. There is no other way to put it. Dallas outshoots Nashville 18-1 in the first period. That's one of the most lopsided first periods I've seen in my life. I'm 24 years old. I don't remember any single period being more ugly for a team than the first period was for Nashville. They do not recover from it. They do outshoot Dallas 21-15 in the second because God only knows what their coach was saying in the intermission, but way too little too late at that point. UC Saros gives up 4 on 18. Kevin Lankinen comes in and gives up 5 more because, sure. Terrible game for the Preds. Fantastic game for Dallas. Matt Duchene went over and started singing at Tootsie's after because I don't think the coach has any room to say anything to them after that game. They played fantastic, obviously. Nothing else on that one. 9-2 final. Nashville's got to wake up. The Blackhawks hosting the Penguins, and most notably tonight we have the return of Connor Bedard a few weeks early off of his jaw injury. He does pick up a point tonight, an assist on Philip Kurashev's goal, but that goal is the only one scored for Chicago. In the first, it's Crosby and Riley Smith both scoring to make it 2-0 after one. Kurashev scores the lone second period goal, and then another from Crosby, and Brian Rust with a short-handed empty netter rounds out all the scoring. It's a 4-1 final for the Penguins. Alex Nedeljkovic pretty solid, 27 of 28. Arvid Soderblom, for once, not the busier of the goalies in a Chicago Blackhawks game. This is a rarity, of course. He faces just 26 shots, stops 23 of them. Shots were damn near dead even. It was 27-28 in favor of the Hawks, but the Penguins just able to capitalize on their chances a bit more tonight, and it's, again, a 4-1 final. With the win, the Penguins are still in 7th in the Metro. A lot of these teams are heating up at the right time, the wrong time for Pittsburgh, but they got a lot of ground to cover if they want to make it in the playoffs. The Flames hosting the San Jose Sharks, and this was kind of a tough one for the Flames. They have a solid first period. Nazem Kadri scores the only goal. It's 1-0 after one. Dustin Wolf stops all 8 San Jose shots, and then in the second, it really starts to fall apart 3 consecutive goals for San Jose. Granlund, Bailey, and Cunnin make it 3-1 before Michael Backlund would score with just a few seconds left in the second to make it a 1-goal game. In the third, though, early on, Philip Zadina scores 2, and then Luke Cunnin captures his second of the game, and just like that, it is 6-2 San Jose, and the game's pretty much over. Kuzmenko would add 1 to make it 6-3, but of course, just not quite enough. Dustin Wolf, a pretty rough night, 806 save percentage, 25 of 31, while Mackenzie Blackwood, equally busy, goes 31 for 34 for a 9-12 in the winning effort. Just need a couple more saves here, man. It's kind of a tough one. Of course, Jacob Markstrom not playing. He's not quite Jacob Markstrom yet. It's just, he's a rookie. It's going to happen. Tough loss for the Flames. They're kind of back and forth on whether or not they want to push for the playoffs or rebuild. Games like this might make them want to rebuild. I know, again, their starting guy's not in net, but this is one you definitely have to have against one of, if not the worst teams in the NHL. But they don't get it, and it's a 6-3 Sharks win. Not great. We made it to the final game of the night. It's the Canucks hosting the Detroit Red Wings, and I don't know if you guys have picked up on this trend, but Vancouver is very, very good against teams like below them in the standings by a good bit, and newsflash, Detroit fits that bill. They win this one by a final score of 4-1. JT Miller and Elias Lindholm both scoring in the first. Zadorov and Comfer both score in the second to make it 3-1 Vancouver. In the third, Lindholm adds his second of the game, 13th of the year, assisted by the other Elias Pettersson, of course. He actually assisted on the first goal as well. And just like that, it's a 4-1 final for the Canucks. Alex Lyon with another kind of iffy game. Some of these goals were pretty shaky ones. The first Lindholm shot was a great one, but Zadorov's goal, not great. The second one, kind of a broken play, hard to really blame him on, but you'd like a save there, I guess. Demko, meanwhile, continues to be dominant. He's the first goalie to 30 wins this season, 27 of 28, a 964 save percentage. He continues to fight for that Vezina spot with Aiden Hill, but it's a pretty convincing win for the Canucks. They don't outshoot the Wings, but it never really seemed to be in doubt. And, of course, the scoreboard kind of reflects that. So that's it for NHL regular season recap of night 120. Just one game tomorrow night. I'm probably not going to be watching it. Apologies in advance. So we'll talk to you guys then for a nice little scoreboard watch session. See you then.